St. John tells us that he composed his gospel so that we might come to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that through believing we might have life in his name. Like the other evangelists, John does this by recounting both the teachings and the deeds of Jesus, but unlike the others, John follows a distinct pattern. John first describes one of the mighty works of Jesus, we would call them miracles, and then he follows that miracle, that work, with a dialogue, a conversation, sometimes even an argument, to bring out for us more deeply the meaning and the purpose of what Jesus did. John calls those miracles, those mighty works, signs. And in the Gospel of John, there are 7 of these signs. We heard this pattern in a kind of condensed way last Sunday. We read the 9th chapter of John, the cure of the blind man. And after Jesus did that cure, what followed then was an argument, a discussion, a debate with the Pharisees. And this debate continues then through chapter 10, but then Jesus changes the image and starts to speak about the Good Shepherd, saying that he is the Good Shepherd. He has come so that his flock would not perish, but rather would have abundant life. And Jesus notes that he is doing the Father's work. John tells us then that after seeing these signs and hearing this discourse, many more came to believe in Jesus. We're now approaching the culmination of John's Gospel, and today we read the next chapter. We're reading from John chapter 11. It's the 7th of the signs of Jesus, the raising of Lazarus from the dead. And this sign will bring even more people to faith, and it provokes the decision by Caiaphas the high priest to have Jesus put to death. In just a couple of weeks, we are all going to renew our own decision to go with Jesus, to follow him, and to put our faith in him. For on Easter, we will renew our profession of faith, we'll repeat our baptismal promises, and we do this every year to stir up within us again and again that desire to follow Jesus more closely, to love him more, to live as he does, to do what he does. And we promise that we will even, if necessary, go to the cross to be with him so as to share in the resurrection, in the new life. I think this year, these ceremonies and these readings from Holy Week and Easter touch each of us more profoundly, maybe more personally than in the past. And I say this because we as individuals and also as a community are going through a lot of changes. The anticipated changes in our diocese, for example. Now, some of the people are only focused on one thing, namely, is my church going to stay open or is it going to close? And I know a lot of my brother priests are already thinking about where their next assignment might be. But I think more to the point, as we live with these realities of change and these possibilities before us, these unknown things, I think more to the point is the question that Jesus asks Martha in the gospel today. Martha, we are told, is his dear friend. She's grieving the loss of her brother. Jesus has come to comfort her. And he says to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Who believes in me, even if he dies, will live. Whoever lives and believes in me will never die. And then the great question, do you believe this? If we will say, as Martha did, yes, Lord, I believe, I think it's more than just saying we believe that Jesus rose from the dead some 2,000 years ago. It's also more than simply believing, as we say each week in the Creed, we believe that someday in the future, someday at the end of time, there will be a resurrection. We will all come back to life again. I think when we say that we believe, we're also recognizing that we are taking as a way of life for ourselves as Christians an approach to life that involves death and resurrection. We call it the Paschal Mystery, and as Christians we believe that we experience the Paschal Mystery over and over and over again, sometimes in large ways, sometimes in small ways. But we believe that each time we experience something that feels like a death, a loss, a separation, we believe that the power of the risen Jesus is also there with us to raise us to a new and more abundant life. So are we willing to say, as we think about what's going on in our own lives and our lives as a parish, are we ready and willing to say, yes, Lord, I believe. I believe that there's a different way to be parish community that will still be what we want to be part of. Yes, Lord, I believe that we can accept new ways of leadership. That yes, we can be open to decisions made by others. That yes, we can believe that this is how we can, the way we've always done it is something we can let go of. As well as this is how I want it to be, we can let go of that too. John shows us in the proclaiming of the gospel that it's the moment of Jesus' death on the cross, the moment of the death, that actually releases the Spirit into the world. It's John who notes the detail that when Jesus was dead and the centurion pierced him in the side, blood and water flowed out, so that from the pierced heart of Jesus comes the blood and water, which is our new life. Some also note that the disciples didn't have to wait, as Luke would teach us, they didn't have to wait 50 days to receive the Spirit. In John's Gospel, the disciples receive the Holy Spirit when they first see the risen Lord on Easter night, the risen Lord who shows them also his wounds. It's in our dying and in our letting go, our surrenders, our being willing to accept something completely different, unexpected, that the Spirit breathes within us. So the question again from Jesus to us, do you believe this?